Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of Financial Planning Explained. I'm your host, Mike Menninger, certified financial planner and owner of Menninger and Associates Financial Planning. I am really excited for this series that I am instituting here. For those of you who know me personally, I am very much a sports fan. In fact, more so baseball, if I were to pick any one sport, played it, and also, helped my son all the way through playing through college, and he also still plays, not professionally, but he still plays. I have some great guests coming up. Today's guest is a former pro baseball player. Next week's guest was also a former player, but also a college baseball coach. So that'll be 2 episodes coming up. Then in about a month or 2, I plan to have back-to-back weeks where I'm going to be bringing in a former Penn State football player who also played in the pros for 11 years. And I will also have a woman in here who will be talking about women's sports. So fundamentally, what I'm trying to accomplish here as I tie it into financial planning is get past all of the excitement that I have, talking to and interviewing folks who are athletes. But to tie it into financial planning, we work constantly with clients who have children who are thinking about going to college, or student athletes who are really good. And the question becomes, are they good enough to make it to the pros? Should I go to college first instead of going to the pros? And what are the things that I might be able to do to help improve my chances of getting into the college of my choice? And of course, the college of the parents' choice is the one that involves the least amount of money, which means how can we get financial aid in the form of scholarships, et cetera. So today's guest is Mark Davis. Mark Davis lives in the LA area. Mark was a former professional baseball player, graduated from Stanford University, was drafted by the White Sox. I guess I'm telling you everything that I wanted him to say. So how I met Mark is he was one of the coaches of my son's college team, got to know him, a great, great guy. And so he is also a business professional in the LA area. And Mark is a criminal defense attorney. And with no further ado, let's welcome Mark. Mark, thank you very much for coming to my show. It is absolutely a pleasure and a privilege to have you on, and it's good to see you again.
Good to see you, Mike. I'm glad to be here and looking forward to having a nice conversation.
That's good. I think the biggest problem you and I are going to have is being able to keep this within 30 minutes. Because once I start talking about baseball, and that's me, I can imagine you can talk for hours on the subject. And so what I would like to be able to do is take an opportunity for you to talk to us about, tell the viewers, what do you do? Tell me about your business. I know you're an attorney, but, tell me about your business.
Okay, so when I came out of law school, I took a job at the district attorney's office, excuse me, in Riverside County. And I was there for about 4 years, just to kind of give you my background. I was there for about 4 years working in the DA's office. I left for 1.5 years to be a baseball agent, where I worked for IMG out of New York. Then left that after about 1.5 years, decided to start my own firm in 2003. I was just going to come out and do basic criminal defense. However, as it turns out, my business morphed into primarily representing non-citizen defendants. I had a couple of buddies who were immigration lawyers, and this is right after 9/11, and so the immigration people were working hard to kick a lot of people out of the country if you had any type of crime at all. And so immigration lawyers were scrambling to find people to defend against these types of cases so that people with families would not just be kicked out of the country. And so we had to, they needed somebody who knew the ins and outs of criminal court. I was that guy, and my practice has morphed into primarily now representing non-citizen defendants who have either committed an offense or are currently charged with an offense, and the offense that they're charged with or that they previously committed makes them ineligible to stay with their family or to get legal status if they don't have it already. And so uh, since 2003, that's been about 80% of the work that I do. I still am on a criminal defense panel out of Riverside County, where I take some of the most serious cases that have nothing to do with your immigration status, just basic criminal defense, where I take murder cases and gang-related cases and very serious felony cases, and of course anyone else that calls me. I take basic criminal defense cases, DUIs, domestic violence, the whole nine. But if I had two primary buckets, it's my immigration-related defense and regular criminal defense, very serious cases. And so that's what I do. I'm a criminal defense lawyer, and we fight for people's rights. People think that prosecutors do that. That is not true. It is the criminal defense attorney who is making sure that the system is working on your behalf, making sure that the Constitution is being followed and that all of your rights are being respected. And so that's what we do here. And I'm proud of what I do. I like it. It's a good gig, especially since I'm my own boss.
That's gotta love the old being your own boss. There's no doubt. However, be careful what you ask for, because being your own boss enables you to have the control over your schedule. But guess what? As we all know, as being business owners, it has its drawbacks.
Oh,
So
we work all the time.
I understand too that you're also fluent in Spanish.
Sí soy. Yo hablo español todos los días. Casi todos mis clientes hablan español. Basically, I said I speak Spanish every day. Basically, all of my clients speak Spanish.
I figured that.
Rare day that I don't speak. Well, it's the rare day that I speak English in my office.
I figured that, particularly being in Southern California. And, one of the things that I found, just been going, watch my son over in Southern California, out in Pasadena, that there's a lot of Mexican population down there.
Can I stop you? I just have to stop you because you seem to be underselling your son, who I know as a former player of mine was a stud, and you say out in California like it's just somewhere. Your son was a stud at Caltech, probably the top academic institution in the United States of America. So don't undersell your son, who was my favorite player when he played for us. Don't undersell him. He was a stud. You've done well to have raised a great young man, and I was proud to be associated with that institution. We brought it from nowhere to somebody. It was good, and your son was a big part of that transformation.
Well, thank you very much for the kind words. I will tell you that as a parent of kids, both of my kids and my son specifically that you're talking about, he'll be, if you can believe it or not, he'll be 27 in a couple months. And one of the things that I'm such a huge supporter of youth sports and youth activities, really. It's not just sports. I mean, band and Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. I'm a huge supporter of youth activities. But one of the things that I tell people, and I just got done telling someone else just a few days ago, cherish these days, because I can speak from experience. These days are now over, and enjoy those days where you have the opportunity to participate, even if it's as a spectator, for your kids' sports, because those days aren't going to last forever. And so, I met you as one of the coaches of my son's team, and I liked all of the coaches. And if you don't know it already, and I know you do, but for the viewers, next week's episode is going to have the manager of that Caltech baseball team that you were one of the coaches on. And that's 4 years of my life that I will never forget. And thank you very much for that. So back to your business again. You referenced the criminal defense panel. What is that? I mean, is it a pool of people where? Tell me. I don't understand it.
Okay, so in every county, you'll have the prosecution, you'll have the public defender. Sometimes you'll have even an alternate public defender, all paid by the county. And then they may have, whenever the public defender has a conflict or if the alternate public defender may have a conflict, they have a team of attorneys, private attorneys, that work on a panel. It's it's basically a criminal defense bar of private attorneys that sometimes get assigned, or they ask for cases that are conflicts for the other groups, and they're all private attorneys. And you go in, you accept a case. You get paid by the county in essence. It's not like a privately retained case, because you get significantly less money because you're being paid by the county, but you'll get a case that you would not have otherwise had, and the county will be paying you. So it's not, you're not doing it for nothing, but you're not doing it for the same amount that you would normally charge.
Sure. It's a marketing type of thing. I suppose as a business owner, it's your opportunity to take on more cases and interesting cases. So I can certainly understand, but it's not pro bono. Or is pro bono, as we all know it, truly free? Or is it like what you're doing, it's freer, but you are getting paid? Is pro bono for free?
Pro bono is free.
Okay, it is. So it is different.
Someone comes in, they pull at my heartstring enough, they don't have any money. I've tried to convince them that they probably need to go to the public defender, but for whatever reason, I am moved enough to say, you know what, I'm going to do this case for free because I don't like the situation you're in, and I'm moved to try to help change your situation.
Well, good.
Don't charge anything.
It's a feel-good story, too, if you can help folks.
Certainly.
So, what was I going to ask you? I forgot. I guess I want to ask you a personal question, and maybe for the viewers. I think we've all had that situation where we get pulled over. Do you recommend anything in particular? I mean, one of the things that I've always done, and I've heard different attorneys, and if you can't say this, I understand. You can, work your way around this one. When I get pulled over for going faster than the speed limit, which is basically my routine speed, I always say, oh, gee, I don't know how fast I was going. I've had actually people say, tell them you were going the speed limit, which I feel like that's lying, which it is. What do you encourage? If I get pulled over and the cop asks me how fast were you going, what's your recommendation? What should I tell the cop?
One, you don't want to talk to the cop. All right. Now, don't get me wrong. I grew up, my dad was a police officer. He was a Marine. I grew up in a law enforcement household. I was a prosecutor for 4 years. I'm pro law enforcement. But now I'm a criminal defense attorney, and most people simply don't know the rights that they have and are afraid that if they say something wrong, they're going to be arrested. And that might be true if you say something wrong. If you don't say anything, chances are you're not going to be arrested. So you ask the cop, why did you stop me? If they're asking you questions, that you don't need to answer those questions. And people don't realize that it is the cop's obligation to tell you why he stopped you. Not if he asks you how fast were you going. No, you tell me. I mean, I don't know why you stopped. Could have been for any number of reasons. And if you open your mouth and you give them a reason, then all of a sudden they have probable cause to write you a ticket for this or that. Or if they ask you, as is frequently the case, do you have any contraband in your car? Do you have any guns or weapons or knives? Let's say you have guns or weapons or knives. That's not a question you want to answer. So I don't have anything. I just need to know why you stopped me. Do you mind if I search your car? Yes, I mind. Do you have probable cause to search my car? And it may not happen to you as much as it's happened to me, but people sometimes will just stop you because they look at you and they think that you look like a criminal, and that's wrong. Yes. And so for a lot of people, you just need to you need to know the rights that you have. Unless an officer has probable cause, then they need to tell you why they stopped you. If they're asking you questions, you don't have to answer those questions. If they want to look in your car, unless they have probable cause to do so, they don't have the right unless you give it to them. And so that's one of the things that I tell people, hey, look, ask them if they have probable cause to search your car. If you don't, then no, you can't search my car.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, Mark, we're up against break already, if you can believe that.
No
So
way.
what I'd like to do is give the opportunity for commercial messages, and we'll be back with you in a minute or two.
Outstanding.
Boardwalks built for fun. Legendary rock and roll clubs.
This is how we do it. Hippity hop.
Casinos by the ocean.
Hippity hop.
Now that's New Jersey. 130 miles of beautiful beaches. Solid rock. And everything in between.
Look in the window.
Now that's New Jersey. Plan your New Jersey trip at visitnj.org. Waves of fun. Nights of excitement. And a trail of memories. Now that's New Jersey.
Welcome back to Financial Planning Explained, and I'm your host, Mike Menninger, certified financial planner, and I'm delighted to continue my interview with Mark Davis, current criminal defense attorney, former pro baseball player, and I'd like to pivot now and start talking about your baseball career, and this is the part that we can't do in 4 hours, but I don't know how we could possibly do it. So before I get into that, let me ask you a question. How do you feel your baseball career prepared you to become an attorney that you are now? Or didn't it at all?
Well, one of the things that it did is that it afforded me the opportunity to go to a number of Latin American countries where I perfected, or I didn't say perfected, but certainly improved my Spanish-speaking skills. I played winter ball in Mexico. I played winter ball in Puerto Rico. I played winter ball in Venezuela. And that usually from September through January after the minor league baseball season. And so I improved my language skills. And as it turns out, now primarily, I would say 85% of my clients are Spanish speaking. So that was certainly good fortune for me. The thing about playing pro ball, or the thing about being an athlete just generally, is if you are competitive, that translates even if you never played pro ball. If you're just an athlete and you are a competitive person, your desire to be successful will translate, and you'll do what is necessary to be successful. So just being an athlete generally, I think, has helped me in my profession, because it's inspired me to work hard enough to have success. Nobody wants to be a loser.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because then it becomes the question of which came first, the chicken or the egg. If you weren't competitive, you wouldn't have been a pro baseball player, right? So it sounds to me that again, the chicken or the egg, you were competitive, which gave you a lot of the drive, and combine that with talent, and there you are. And you became a baseball player. So tell me a little bit about your baseball career. I know you played at Stanford, 4 years at Stanford. Is that 4 years?
4 years at Stanford.
And then you got drafted?
Here's a little tidbit that most people don't know. Okay, so I played at Hoover High School in San Diego, same place where Ted Williams went to high school. Played on Ted Williams Field. We were the Cardinals, all right, Hoover High Cardinals. I went to Stanford, which is the Stanford Cardinal.
With OS.
Out of high school, I was drafted in the 5th round by the St. Louis Cardinals.
Oh, you and your Cardinal thing.
Well, I'm just saying, in high school, I was a Cardinal. I had committed to Stanford, which was the Cardinal. I was drafted out of high school by the St. Louis Cardinals. That was a little tidbit that they put in the Sports Illustrated in 1982.
Cool.
So just, just tidbits. But yeah, I went to Stanford, played 4 years at Stanford. I was drafted by the White Sox, traded to the Angels, spent 8 days in the big leagues with the Angels. And primarily my career was a minor league career. Like I said, 9 days in the big leagues with the Angels, but 9 years as a professional. I'm still bitter that I only got 8 days. My brother, as you know, spent 10 years in the big leagues, 9 or 10 years. And I was hoping to have a career as long as his. Didn't work out that way, but I've worked out a decent professional career just the same.
All good stuff. Your brother is older than you?
He's older than me.
How many years?
My brother Mike, he was born in '59. That makes him 5 years older than me.
Okay. And for the viewers, I learned this from my son. He said, "Oh, did you know that Mark Davis's brother was the guy on second base for the infamous Kirk Gibson home run in Game 2 of the 1988 World Series, where he could barely walk?"
Yes.
So, and as soon as he told me that, he wasn't even done telling me. I was typing in Google, and he got the Kirk GI, and the first thing that pops up on Google is Kirk Gibson home run, and gave me chills. And just in talking about it today, it gives me the chills. And you were telling me last week another thing I didn't know. You showed me a picture of you and Dave Winfield, and Dave Winfield was your idol. Tell me the Dave Winfield story.
Yeah, no, I grew up in San Diego, like I just mentioned, and Dave Winfield was first a San Diego Padre, and so he was the face of the organization. He was who I wanted to be. I used to imitate him getting into the box, can still do so to this day, and so to be in spring training with him in 1990, 91, whatever it was. And then to be called up and be on the same team with him in the major leagues, and then to be sent into the game for Dave Winfield, that is one of the highlights of my life and something I'll never forget.
How could it not be? Dave Winfield is in the Hall of Fame, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And I do have a picture of Dave Winfield on the wall on my basement as a Yankee. Sorry. I know
That's
you're
okay.
probably, most people, especially those on the West Coast, particularly in the LA area, are not much of Yankee fans. But so let me ask you another question. So why did you choose Stanford over being drafted? I mean, you were drafted. Why did you choose to go to college instead? And what did, I want to be able to send a message to our viewers who may be high school athletes. Do you encourage college? Do you say draft? Please tell me.
No, I absolutely encourage college, and I was very fortunate. Scott Boras, who is the super agent,
Oh yeah.
He was my advisor out of high school. I was
Interesting. I didn't know they could
do.
do that. I thought you had to be. I thought you couldn't do that unless you signed.
He was an advisor, which
Okay.
means that I could talk to him about my situation. I wasn't paying him anything. And he encouraged me. He says, look, at the end of the day, your talent level will give you an opportunity to be drafted multiple times. And so unless they come at you with a ridiculous sum, I would advise you to take a Stanford education. That's something you'll get that and another opportunity to be drafted in the future. And so that's what I did. I still appreciate that advice because it turned out to be the best advice I ever received. For those people whose children may get an opportunity, if they also have an opportunity to go to college, they should go to college, because the reality is that the vast majority of athletes are not going to get an opportunity to play professionally. And if they do get an opportunity to play professionally, they're probably not going to make it to the major leagues. Those numbers are astronomically low. And so if you have the opportunity to create another avenue for yourself, and you'll still probably, if you're good enough and you've been drafted, you'll probably be drafted again, and you will get at some point an opportunity down the road. But if it's a dream of yours, you're not a student, and you have an opportunity, then take it. But if you are a semi-student and have an opportunity and think you're going to be drafted again, then absolutely get your education. I think that's the most important thing.
That's great advice. And so what advice, I assume that you probably gave the same advice to your son, who's now, I believe, a junior at Northeastern?
My son is a junior at Northeastern. He wasn't going to get drafted. He played at a very small private school. But, you know, he's grown, he's big. He may get an opportunity. He's still got 4 years of eligibility. Redshirted his first year. Last year was the pandemic. And so he's a junior, but he still has these 4 years of eligibility left.
Well,
so we'll see. He may be there for another 3 years, and we'll see how that all works out.
Good opportunity to get his master's, right?
Yes, that's very true.
So that's all good. If you can believe it or not, we're almost wrapping up here.
And how can we be done?
I don't know. That stinking clock is getting in the way. But this has been terrific, Mark. Like I said, we could chat for hours on this, and I would love to chat for hours on this. But I'd like to spin back to your professional career again, if I could. Is there anything that you would like to add? I would like you again to take this opportunity to tell the viewers, how they might be able to get a hold of you, anything that you would recommend that the viewers would benefit from. And again, I want it to be, how can someone get a hold of you that may not know how?
Okay, I'll leave you with a couple of email addresses. There's info@madlawonline.com. That's the way that goes directly to my assistant. They can email me directly at legallymad, the number 4, the letter U, @gmail.com, legallymad4u@gmail.com. If they have questions, if they have, anything criminal related, I'm happy to talk to people. I'm not opposed to that. I think people don't realize the rights that they have, and oftentimes law enforcement takes advantage of the ignorance of the public by basically asking them to incriminate themselves. And most people don't realize that they don't have to necessarily say anything to law enforcement, and that it's their burden to have probable cause to get you to talk to them, and you don't have to. And so anyway, I'll leave you with that. We're
appreciated. And by the way, for those viewers, MAD, we can joke around and say, Mark's kind of mad, and so am I, but that's his initials. So I'll give you a break on that, so that people don't think that you're legally mad. Legally mad for you at Gmail. That's kind of funny. But well, thank you very much, Mark. I can't begin to tell you how much I appreciated you being my guest on today's show. I hope that this provides an opportunity for you, but at the same time too, as I indicated before, this is the beginning of 2 sets, if you will, of bringing in and tying high school, college sports, and even professional sports, because we had the pleasure of having a professional athlete on here. I just want to be able to tie it. I would love to be able to have a panel for everybody on it. I don't know if we can do that or how we can do that, but certainly if the day comes, I would love to invite you to be part of that panel. So next week's episode, I'm going to be having Matt Mark, who I'm pleased also was the head coach or manager of the Caltech baseball team. And that's where Mark was, and that's where my son went to school. So I want to be able to touch upon what he does for business, as well as the whole concept of recruiting, because he was a baseball coach for many years. So until next week, I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you soon. Once again, I'm Mike Menninger, certified financial planner, and we'll see you next week.